Yes, my people. Hey, Omo, just like tribunal, Bola Abe Tinubu don't start with Supreme Court again. Here waiting in the tell Supreme Court, make them do tribunal, make them do Atiku case. Just listen to what they tell them. He said this Atiku case, say the case lacks merit and say the case looks abusive. So make them dismiss her. When we they complain of the objection, when they shout for tribunal, he don't this time around, you know, even they ask for objection, he say make them dismiss the case. Listen, hear the whole details. Why the video share of me? They come.
Elsewhere, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has asked the Supreme Court to dismiss the appeal filed by the 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, also the opposition party. Tinubu, who was the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress in the 2023 election, said this in a response filed by his lawyers on Saturday to Atiku's notice of appeal. Recall that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, in its judgment on September 6, dismissed a petition filed by Atiku challenging the outcome of the February 25 presidential election. According to the tribunal, the former vice president failed to prove all the averments in his petition, stressing that his petitions lacked merit and was dismissed. However, Atiku filed 35 grounds notice of appeal before the Supreme Court on September 18 and asked the court to set aside the entire findings and conclusions of the tribunal. In the appeal, the PDP candidate submitted that the tribunal's findings were done with grave errors and gross misrepresentation, which resulted in a miscarriage of justice. In response to the appeal filed by Atiku, President Tinubu stated that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal was correct in arriving at its verdict and affirming his election. The president insisted that the appellant failed to prove all their allegations and submissions to the tribunal, adding that they have demonstrated any reason why the apex court should disturb any of the findings of the lower court. Tinubu, however, described the appeal filed by the PDP candidate as abusive in nature and prayed for its dismissal. He said, and I quote, "Neither the appellants have demonstrated any reason why this honorable court should disturb any of the findings of the lower court, which with all modesty are rooted in law and a perfect demonstration of scholarship." He also stated that we accordingly urge this honorable court to affirm the decision of the lower court while dismissing this appeal in its entirety as same is lacking in merit and bona fide. Now, I actually have via the telephone a legal practitioner, also a political enthusiast and a social affairs commentator, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid. Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, good evening and welcome to VOP World News at 6.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for having me, Esther.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that you definitely looked through, or rather listened to all that I have read concerning some topical stories in the political arena on the World News at 6. Is it surprising to hear the president asking for the Supreme Court to dismiss the appeal filed by Atiku Abubakar?
It is not at all. It is not surprising to me as a lawyer, because a law, when you appeal, when you're the appellant, that's okay. The person who appeals the appellant, you'll be asking the court to dismiss, what you intend to do is to bring out errors in all the cases of is to bring out error from the cases of the judge, for what the judges have concluded. So when you bring those errors out, the other party has also have the right to respond to same, and ask the court not to ignore you and to dismiss your case. So it's not abnormal. It's normal thing to say. You bring your case as an appellant, the respondent will file his response, and he will tell the court to say, you will be asking the court to set aside the judgment of the lower court. In other words, in this case, the Atiku team will be asking that the Supreme Court to set aside the judgment of the tribunal and uphold their own position. Meanwhile, the opposition too, that is the representative now, the respondent now, will be asking the court to discountenance your claims and dismiss it for either lacking merit, for abuse of court process, for whatever they want to think. They will say that it's normal. That is the procedure, and that is the process. All Nobody will come when you file appeal against me. I will not come and say, okay, Supreme Court, accept it.
Okay.
I will not come and to dismiss it.
All right, but why particularly is Tinubu asking the Supreme Court to dismiss the appeal of Atiku Abubakar? Why not that of the Labour Party? What exactly is about the appeal of Atiku Abubakar that seems to be more of interest, when it comes to the president's attention to that of the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi? Could it be because of the condition whereby that must be met, where the PDP said that they have the conditions to be met to file a fresh appeal? The fresh appeal includes the academic records of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which the PDP is alleging that academic record, including the certificate tendered to the Independent National Electoral Commission, is forged. Could this be the standing point or the platform with which the president is asking, or the president's legal team is asking the Supreme Court to dismiss that of Atiku Abubakar? Why not the other opposition political party as well?
Let me correct an impression.
Okay.
I think we're not filing a fresh appeal. What they file again, in addition to the appeal, a motion asking the court to allow them rely on a fresh document, new document. So okay. That's not.
All right. He's asking the court to allow them file a fresh document.
To allow them rely on fresh document.
Okay, so that the admittance
are not available at the time when it's available.
So the admittance of the fresh document or fresh evidence has not yet been approved by the Supreme Court.
No, it is by way of application. Application has been filed.
Okay.
I'm very sure the response of the APC have been filed. That they are briefed. So they both will be hard to get out because the court will hear the application and see whether or not he has merit, or whether he can be granted or not be granted.
Okay,
so the court will now say yes, I will hear on it.
All right. Okay, so let me get something very clear, because the way I recall that while this entire certificate debacle was ongoing, the legal team of the president was telling, or rather affirmed to CSU at the time during the deposition, that this particular journey that Atiku Abubakar is on concerning the academic record is an effort in futility, because according to them, that no new evidence can be tendered at the Supreme Court. They affirmed also, or rather buttressed, that the Supreme Court will only work on what the lower court has made its judgment on. So if I understand properly, what you're saying at this time is the fact that the new motion that was filed is an application for the Supreme Court. So there will be a hearing first of all if that particular new evidence will be admitted at the Supreme Court before any further proceeding.
Yes, you see the way it works. Like I said earlier on, although the Supreme Court will determine that.
Okay.
It's not as if you can't bring a new document before Supreme Court. Okay. Then you need to seek the leave of the court. In other words, you must bring an application to seek leave. In other words, why I say leave, in the permission of the court, of the Supreme Court, to rely on those documents. So it is when the Supreme Court allows you that to give you that, grant you that leave, that you can now rely on it. So that application is before the court, Supreme Court. Supreme Court to inform the Supreme Court that we have a new evidence which came up after the judgment of the lower court, or which were not available at the time when the tribunal was taking the case. The documents are not available, we want to rely on it. So please look at it. Court will now look at it and see whether or not it will accept it or it's not. So this is the discretion of the Supreme Court to determine whether or not it will accept or it will not accept. But it's not that it's not normal. It's been done before. They've accepted the document even after the court appeal decision. So it's at the discretion of the court. The court will determine that. So and that has been before the Supreme Court already.
Emiloko. Emiloko. Not be every case that they dismiss. This case no lack merit. It get merit. They no go dismiss her. You understand? They don't go dismiss her. I hear say Atiku people don't even tell Atiku say make he put up in cabinet. Say they go like making hit the ground running immediately because the country don't bleed now. So we they watch this particular case with the Supreme Court. We just want to see what the Supreme Court will talk. Not be like we expect any major this thing, but we know we want to see what the Supreme Court will talk on top certificate forgery, on top double nomination, on top 25% in FCT, on top forfeiture of funds for US, all those whole case and all those irregularities, all those transmission and all those things. Once see what the Supreme Court will talk eventually, because any way Supreme Court talk now don't become a policy where we would use the go forward. So no problem. All those things where them Samani do, no wahala. We will see wetin Ariwola go do this time around. At least we get precedent say Ariwola don't write before say don't judge before say for future na charge for crime for I think na fine for a crime abi. So once whether he go overrule that particular judgment when he don't give before, we dey wait for the final judgment.